Hey guys, FunnyGuyTimmy here. Wanted to talk about, again, there's a little bit of a confusion, even though I kind of make it relatively clear when I do my microphone reviews as far as like what my rating is. Now, I don't actually have a rating because I'm not going to give a microphone, a score on a scale of 1 to 10. That's just not fair because a microphone is a tool. People don't understand that. It's not a gadget. It's not a trinket. It's not a prop. It's a tool. And depending on how you use it and what it's for, it's like, a wrench and a hammer. Which one's better? For what? I kind of hint at what my, my rating is, but I'm just going to break it down for you guys right here. I guess going from bottom to top in a way, and I'll explain along the way, my rating would be microphone good for, and then fill in the blank, good for Skype, Let's Play, podcast, radio, audiobook, commercial, or animation and character. Why would I put them on this kind of rating? Well, obviously, first one is Skype. Now, for Skype, no one expects your audio quality to be perfect. Also, when it goes through Skype, it's being compressed and it's being distorted. That's the word I was looking for, distorted. So it's not going to come out perfect and it's not going to come out clean. So obviously, if you have a microphone that, does capture your voice, but it's not perfect. It still has some hiss, it still has some hum. Maybe there's not as much clarity in your voice. Maybe it kind of cuts off the low end a little too much and it's a little too sharp and sibilant. You can still use it for Skype. If you're trying to talk to a client and you just need to communicate with them, or just make some kind of arrangement, maybe do Skype interviews for your YouTube channel, this would totally be fine. This microphone, whatever that is, would be totally fine for doing Skype. The next one would be Let's Plays. Now, the reason I put Let's Plays just past Skype is because even if it has a lot of inherent noise, like a hiss or a hum, the majority of that will be drowned out by the game or the music that is being played while you're playing the game. So even if the mic isn't perfect, like the newer NW700, I think would be totally fine for doing Skype or Let's Plays because it doesn't have to be perfect. Even if there is, a lot cut off, on the low end or on the high end, or it's, not perfect in the clarity, because there is something else playing in the background, it's not that important. As long as they can hear you and they know what you're saying and it doesn't sound too bad, like it's not distorted or it's not overcompressed or anything like that, this microphone would be totally fine. Fill in the blank. Next would be podcasts. Now, the reason I say that is because I had a podcast for the longest time that I used handheld dynamic microphones. I didn't use any large diaphragms. I didn't use any anything that required phantom power. It was just simple dynamic microphones. And none of them were the same brand or the same model. And what I tried to do is I tried to match each person with the microphone that best complemented their voice. I had some microphones that were a little sharper, a little sibilant. I would normally hand that off to the guy with the deeper, bassier sounding voice. Same thing with the other one. The microphone that's a little muffled or is a little heavier in the low end, I would give that to the person with the higher pitched voice, which normally was me in the room. So that's how I'd normally do that. So it's a microphone that still doesn't have a lot of hiss or a lot of inherent noise in the background, but it doesn't have to have the full range of your voice. No one's listening to these, expecting to be, convinced that it's something else. When it comes to like commercial, you're trying to make it sound like it belongs somewhere else or belongs with something else. Like it'll be something that's supposed to sound like it's, someone talking to someone on a park bench about a product, or someone talking over the phone, or someone talking, to you while you're, in a restaurant. When it comes to commercial, it needs to have more range. So the next one's going to be radio. And a lot of this is the same as all the ones before it. Now, I do think radio still needs to sound good, but even if there's a little bit of noise, again, there's going to be a lot of music playing in the background. No, I haven't heard a single like radio promo, intro that didn't have music or didn't have all these effects. So it doesn't have to sound perfect. A lot of radio shows still, use like these big dynamic microphones, which often, heavy in the low end, still has some noise in the background, and they're dynamic. They're not large diaphragm condensers. So, it doesn't have to be perfect, but I do put this higher than podcast because, it's a radio. You're getting paid. Next one would be audiobook. I put that one above radio because you're not playing any music in the background most of the time. There are some audiobooks where there is like sound effects or there is music, but the majority of audiobooks, especially if you're producing it yourself, there's not going to be any music in the background. It's just going to be your voice. So it does need to sound clean. It doesn't really need to be any noise in the background. Shouldn't really hear any noise outside of just you and the microphone. Should be really, really contained. But due to the fact that it's an audiobook, you're not talking too loud. You can get really close to the microphone, and the closer you are to the microphone, the less noise you're going to hear around you. Also, the closer and quieter you are to the microphone, the less you're going to hear reverb. So it doesn't have to be that perfect when it comes to sensitivity and pickup pattern. But again, it still needs to have, a really low self-noise floor, because if you're talking to the microphone, you're getting real quiet and you're turning the gain down, or the gain up rather, you're going to hear some of that gain hiss and hum and stuff like that. So the next one is going to be commercial. Commercial needs to have basically everything that all the other ones have, but perfect, if that makes any sense. No noise, lots of range, full spectrum. But the one thing that this microphone doesn't have to have is the ability to take a screaming beating. It basically needs to be able to hit the standard volume of the human voice, like this right here, and be able to capture that beautifully with no noise, no hiss, the full range of the voice, with very little cutoff on the low end and the high end. Not colored, just clean, clear, professional, and with tons to work with. So if you hand this off to an engineer, he's got stuff in all of the frequencies that he can play with very easily without it getting distorted or sounding like it's been compressed and stuff like that. And then finally, animation. And the reason that I put this one the highest, because when it comes to animation, if you're looking for a microphone for animation, it needs to be able to go from almost quiet, you whispering, to yelling as loud as you can. It basically has to sound as good all the way from top to bottom with very, very little noise. And the reason is when you're doing character or animation, there's a lot of acting, there's a lot of range, and it's not just one sound that you're trying to do. It's not just one character. It's not just one read. You have to be able to be flexible on as many reads as possible. The microphone has to sound as good, you getting really quiet and whispering like maybe you're pretending to be someone who's trying to hide from things that are outside, to you yelling and screaming and, really projecting your voice. So when it comes to character work, which a lot of these are going to be large diaphragms, there's a lot more writing on this microphone. There's a lot of people out there that have microphones that would be in the more podcast, Skype area, and they try to do character work and character and animation, but when they get too loud, it distorts their high end. Or when they get too quiet, there's just a lot of hiss. Or the microphone's too sensitive and you'll hear the room around them. That's how I rate microphones. I don't rate them on this one sucks, throw it over your shoulder, this one's great. They have their purposes, they have their roles, and they have things that they're good at and they have things that they're not good at. Like for example, I keep talking about this one, the Sennheiser MKH416. This would be a commercial microphone. It's not perfect for animation because I can get off axis and it sounds completely different. Also, when I yell, when I really project my voice, it doesn't sound as good as I would want it to. And I think a lot of that is the reflection of my voice is bouncing off something and coming back into it. So I wouldn't put this in the character and animation section of my rating system. And that's what I'm trying to do, and that's what I'm trying to help people with. It's not just find a microphone that sounds good, find a microphone that helps you with the thing that you're needing a microphone for. Anyway, so this is a little bit of a ramble, but I hope I've cleared up some of this. So anyway, thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe. If you'd like to see any other videos, leave them down in the comment section below. And until next time, peace.